After decades of acrimony, could Pakistan and Bangladesh finally align? Under new leadership following the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, Dhaka appears poised to build better relations with Islamabad. Some say at India's expense. But would better ties benefit Bangladesh or cause regional instability for all? I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's Newsmaker is the Bangladesh-Pakistan rapprochement. Bangladesh won its independence from Pakistan through one of the 20th century's most brutal conflicts. That war laid the groundwork for decades of tense relations, with Bangladesh coining a derogatory term for anyone who might sympathize with Pakistan. When protesters rose up against former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last year, she said it was those Razakars backed by Islamabad who were destabilizing the country. Now, if she thought that would rally support in her favor, she was wrong. And today, new leaders in Bangladesh are pulling closer to Pakistan, away from India, and even toward China. Here's a look.
Historical animosity is turning into warmer relations. In 1971, Bangladesh fought a bloody war for independence from Pakistan, in which nearly 3 million people were killed. Pakistani military and its paramilitary forces were accused of raping hundreds of thousands of women. The Bengali army, with India's help, forced Pakistan to surrender, and Bangladesh was born. But over the decades to follow, animosity towards Pakistan remained, until the dramatic ouster of Sheikh Hasina, daughter of independence hero Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, in August last year. Now, under the interim rule of Nobel laureate Mohammad Yunus, Dhaka is restoring ties with Islamabad. During a meeting in Cairo in December, Yunus urged his counterpart, Shahbaz Sharif, to settle the 1971 issues once and for all for future generations. Sharif wrote on X that the two leaders are committed to expanding their relations and cooperation. And it has already started. The two countries have restored their sea trade routes, eased visa rules, and plan to restart direct flights. For the first time in over a decade, a delegation of Pakistan's top trade body travelled to Dhaka this month in an attempt to increase their trade volume fourfold. And Bangladesh's Lieutenant General Kamarul Hassan met with Pakistani Army Chief Syed Assam Munir. After the meeting, Pakistan's army media said the enduring partnership between two brotherly nations must remain resilient against external influences. Now, India is worried about losing its longtime ally Bangladesh to its arch-rival Pakistan. New Delhi-Dhaka ties have been strained since August as Bangladesh seeks Hasina's extradition from India to face charges of crimes against humanity. India accuses Bangladesh of failing to protect the country's Hindu minority, while Dhaka has asked New Delhi not to meddle in its internal affairs.
These attacks are political in nature and not communal, and India is propagating these incidents in a big way. We have not said that we can't do anything. We have said that we are doing everything.
At the same time, India is engaging with Afghanistan's Taliban government, which some call an effort to counter Pakistan in the region. The two sides witnessed their first high-level meeting in January. It came as tensions between the Taliban and Pakistan hit another low, with the exchange of airstrikes last month. And in another shift in Asia, China is expanding its footprint in Bangladesh. On his first foreign trip, Bangladesh's interim foreign minister flew to Beijing to strengthen cooperation in trade, investment, and regional affairs.
My first bilateral visit to China is a demonstration of the importance we attach to our relationship with China and our sincere willingness to take this relation to a newer height.
With Bangladesh at the centre, resolving past adversaries, new alliances, and rival diplomatic engagements seem to be reshaping South Asia.
So where might this Bangladesh-Pakistan rapprochement take both countries and the wider region? Well, joining me now to debate that and much more are from Lahore, member of the Provincial Assembly of the Punjab, Uzma Kardar; From London, former chairperson of the Bangladesh Nationalist Lawyers Forum UK, Tariq bin Aziz. And from New Delhi, Professor of International Affairs at Jindal University, Suradha Datta. Thanks all so much for being with me. Tariq, I'll start with you. As a Bangladeshi,
thank you very much. Yeah.
To tell us how attitudes in general toward Pakistanis have changed over the last few years. I mean, Pakistan, from what I'm getting, is just not the villain that it used to be.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank, including you and other two guests in this discussion. The important question you raised, actually, the relationship between the peoples of Pakistan and Bangladesh was always there in place. The issue was political. So we all know that the historic issue of 1971 Liberation War. But we need to remind ourselves that this conflict was not between the peoples of Pakistan and Bangladesh. This was between the political leaders and those who are responsible for those things. So if we go back after the tenure of President Ziaur Rahman, the relationship Ziaur Rahman tried to maintain between the neighboring countries in a friendly manner.
Okay.
So that continues during the Begum Khaleda Zia regime as well. It was interrupted during the fascist Hasina regime in last 15 years.
Okay. So, and in those 15 years, though, have Bangladeshi attitudes toward India changed as well?
Yes. In these 15 years, Bangladesh attitude was towards India was, it's just not a neighboring friendship. It was, you can say, that India's position was, they try to trick, and it's the fascist regimes, they want to stay in power, so they use that neighboring country in that way. So it was just like, not like a neighboring friend, just like the India is, Sheikh Hasina worked as a chief minister of one of the Indian province, what I would like to say. So the position was so simple that the tension between India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, in my position, I believe there is no real tension between the citizens of these countries. We all are historically from the same Indian subcontinent. So we are brothers, we are sisters.
But you realize
the peoples are united. It's the attitude of the politicians. We politicians, we need to change.
Okay.
And the current dilemma, after the fascist regime, now the fascist is in India. So naturally, there is a tension that whether India is supporting the fascists in an open air when the peoples of Bangladesh are clearly against this fascist regime.
Okay. So whether it is the people or the politicians, though, the relationship is changing. So Uzma Kardar, how fundamentally do you see the relationship changing from here on out? I mean, we had the military chiefs visiting each other and calling Pakistan and Bangladesh two brotherly nations. I mean, it was a real symbol, Uzma, of, you know, a change in tone, to say the least.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your program. It is a pleasure to talk on this subject. You know, Bangladesh, which of course was East Pakistan, we were West Pakistan. We started off together. Our hearts were together. We, you know, we were one country. And then there was this, I think, negative type of interference in the affairs of Pakistan, which came predominantly from our neighbor, India, because I feel that India wants hegemony in the region, and they could never swallow the fact that Pakistan gained independence in 1947. They still think that Pakistan will, you know, collapse, it'll finish, and they refuse to accept the reality of Pakistan. I think that it's a new beginning. It's a new beginning for Pakistan and for Bangladesh. We have a lot in common. And now I think the 15 years which were forcibly, we made to separate and be apart from each other because of political motivation, because of political, I think, exploitation. That
Okay.
era has come to an end.
So you agree with
And
Tariq
now
on that
both the
point, obviously. Well, let me move ahead to Sri Radha, because both of our panelists have said something about India, and India has expressed definitely some concern with this rapprochement between Pakistan and Bangladesh. Why?
Historically, as you've seen, that we've had an extremely strained relationship with Pakistan, and I think we don't need to do a class on that to explain those details and exactly what Pakistan has unleashed on India. They've used terror as a tool for their foreign policy, and we've also seen in a certain particular regime of Bangladesh where they've used Bangladesh soil to also attack India. So I mean, these are all historical accounted facts and figures that we are discussing. Let me just add a little bit here. I did hear my co-panelists with full respect for their views, but the fact that they're saying that the problem between East Pakistan and West Pakistan occurred because of interference of India is really very little understanding of history. You didn't rape over 200,000 women because of interference of India. There was no genocide over 3 million people because of interference from India. There were 10 million refugees who had to leave the country and go. I mean, these are because of interference. I think let's get our historical facts and figures correct here. Yes, of course, given the fact that India and Bangladesh right now don't have the previous bonhomie which existed for the last 16 years, there is a gap. And naturally, every country will leverage that. But I would like to recall here the foreign advisor also has mentioned that, the tension continues to exist, and the fact that it's true that people all over in South Asia and all of us who travel the world, we are very much welcomed by our Pakistani, Bangladeshi, all citizens across. Between the citizens there is no problem at all, and it is true much of the issues are political, but at the same time, I mean, I think I don't need to overstate the issue of the apology that Bangladesh has time and again demanded, and this is not only during Sheikh Hasina's regime. I mean, I would want to say that yes, she of course
Okay.
ensured that there was very little engagement, but the historical problems that they have is a reality. But yes, there has been a kind of engagement, and why not? I think it's wonderful that South Asian states should get together and find common engagement platform. But let's not forget the deep roots of history and as to what played that out and one particular issue, but how in general Bangladeshis have also been very wary of Pakistanis. While socially we are welcoming, but at another level, and I do in travel all around South Asia very often and outside. So just wanted to make that point.
Okay. Let me return to Tariq then, because as was just mentioned, Bangladesh has asked clearly for an apology from Pakistan, and that is from the Bangladeshi people themselves, because the history is still fairly recent and it is brutal. We have to be honest. But they're also asking at the same time from India, to have Sheikh Hasina extradited so she can face trial in Bangladesh for the injustices they believe she has perpetrated there. Do you think you'll get either of those demands delivered on?
Thank you. What you said, that is a clear position of Bangladesh and the people of Bangladesh. And you see that recently, Professor Yunus, when met Pakistan's Prime Minister, Shahbaz, and the message was clear that Bangladesh asked Pakistan to settle the issues of 1971 to help Dhaka to move forward with its relationship with Islamabad. At the same time, Professor Yunus, and also this is the position of the nation, the people of Bangladesh, that the fascist is in India, and the regime, what atrocities they did, the cleansing of the youth, the massacre they made during this 15 years tenure, these all need to be accounted for in the eye of law. So as a neighboring country, naturally, Bangladesh is asking that India will assist in that regard as well. But the question is that the relationship is an ongoing process. It does not mean that the 1971 issues This is an ongoing dialogue. Bangladesh is pressing to Pakistan and asking Islamabad to make their position clear. And
Okay.
this matter will be settled in diplomatically.
Okay.
At
Well,
so
because it's interesting that it hopefully will be settled diplomatically. But Uzma, let's look at where we're at now. And as I said before, we saw Pakistan and Bangladesh's military chiefs. We saw them meeting and making decisions face to face rather than more political and diplomatic meetings taking place. And they're specifically talking about boosting defense cooperation, even signing some kind of nuclear treaty. Is that good?
I think this is a little bit of misunderstanding here. The first meeting between the Prime Minister of Pakistan and the chief advisor of the interim government, they met in United Nations, and then the second meeting they had in Cairo. And to Dhaka, and then their general came to Pakistan. So it is not just a military. We are
Understood,
talking
but I'm asking about the
the
military meeting and what was discussed there, because those are some of the biggest takeaways.
So military meeting is just one meeting, and of course we can have some joint ventures there. Maybe we can have, we can also talk about some kind of cooperation as far as the nuclear situation is concerned, but that is something which has not been discussed right now. Right now, what is happening is that the Joint Business Council has been established again. For 15 long years, there was absolutely hardly any trade with Bangladesh. They are now planning to prioritize the trade partnerships, raise the annual trade to 3 billion, which is more than at the. And there was a meeting of the officials of the Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and the Bangladesh. They launched this Pak Bangladesh Joint Business Council. So we are now talking about revival of trade, revival of cultural delegations, sports, cooperation in areas of sugar industry, dengue controls, leather goods, surgical goods, chemicals, IT. So we are talking about a lot of things. We are not talking about any military cooperation.
Okay, well,
it's
a lot. There
countries. We want to start connectivity, resume the flights to Bangladesh.
Indeed,
maritime
as we mentioned.
Ties also we want to strengthen with Bangladesh.
Right. There's a lot on the table because there is a lot to bring back to this relationship, obviously. But let me go back to Sriradna because it's important to address how much regional dynamics are really shifting right now. I mean, we have observers saying India is moving closer to Afghanistan, which makes Pakistan nervous. Bangladesh and Pakistan are getting closer and also moving toward China, especially for greater economic ties, which makes India nervous. So, I mean, how fundamental a shift is this really, especially on the economic front? And if you'd like to address the military issues as well, that I know a lot has been said about in the Indian press.
Yes, let me just begin with the military and I'll come back to the regional and the economic aspect a bit later. Yes, the kind of photo ops that the ISI delegation received was clearly messaging. Where on earth have we ever seen ISI delegation keeps moving around the world? Has there been so much of noise about it? So clearly, there's a messaging that's been conveyed to India, but that's how it is. That's how the geopolitics work. But coming back to the regional issue, yes. I would actually hesitate to say that India has moved closer to Afghanistan, but I think over decades one does understand that India has been in whichever ways possible to provide for the people of Afghanistan. So while there is certainly absolutely no official recognition of Taliban, we certainly we denounce it. But at the same time, there were several projects, which includes water projects, transport projects, and many other, which is of great appeal to the people of Afghanistan. And we think that we shouldn't let that down, because across the board in Afghanistan, everybody has a very strong positive perception about India. And I think that's the way forward we want to take it. And we, of course, understand right now there is a mix of Afghanistan Pakistan tension, which is again on the boil. And again, of course, China is a actor that constantly we are struggling with because of our security concerns that we share with them. There has been some kind of a understanding at this point of time on the border, but as we know, these relationships and these situations are tenuous. So yes, as I mentioned in the very first sentence, that there is a bit of a vacuum because India is not so closely engaging with Bangladesh at this point of time. So it is not surprising that external powers like Pakistan and China would find greater space to leverage that particular situation. And the talk about trade, as of now, Bangladesh has less than 1% trade with Pakistan. Uh, let's not overbeat it a bit much, because Pakistan, given its own financial dire conditions, Bangladesh is right now, who was a miracle story till 3 years ago, is going through a very bad economic situation themselves. So clearly their limitation, but that does not stop from two neighbors to engage together, build connectivity together. And there is I think visas have been granted, gratis visas. So these are
Mm.
positive developments, and I would look at it through that, because if the neighbors prosper, then the whole region prospers. And
Okay.
I've always maintained that. I think economic cooperation is certainly something that we all would certainly
Yeah.
appreciate.
I mean, the glass should be half full in this case, but Tariq, I mean, should Bangladeshis at all worry about perhaps having to sacrifice some economic relationship with India, or are they not thinking about that because maybe it can be easily replaced by China and Pakistan for that matter?
Thank you. I don't think that Bangladesh is in any way worried about anything. And I don't think that the position for Bangladesh is to deteriorate the relationship with India, because India is a neighbor of Bangladesh and we can't change our neighbor on daily basis. So what Bangladesh want, that the President Ziaur Rahman started the relationship between India and Bangladesh and Pakistan. You remember the starting point of the SARC, South and Central Asian Regional Cooperation, established by late President Ziaur Rahman. And all the matters was, the foreign policy for Ziaur Rahman was, that is continuing during the Khalida's period as well. The neighboring country, India, we will maintain a friendly neighborhood with them. So they are our biggest neighbor. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the relationship with Pakistan, there are some historic issues that will be diplomatically dealt by the responsible persons.
Okay, I mean,
But
we
the
hope you're right.
relationship will continue.
We hope
The
you're right,
relationship
but
will continue.
when
So
you
it's
have
not that
outstanding
we'll,
issues like Bangladesh demanding Sheikh Hasina be returned, and
yes,
chances being very good that India will not return her and continue to protect her, that doesn't bode well for improving relations, for example.
but I am hopeful that as a neighbor, as a good neighbor, India will understand that the peoples of Bangladesh were ousted the Hasina as a fascist, and it's very wide. The all over the world knows. So India, to whether India wants Hasina or India wants the people of Bangladesh, that is their matter. But from our side, our position is clear. We want a beautiful, friendly relationship with India. At the same time, we want a beautiful, friendly relationship with Pakistan. So it's not that we will make a relationship with Pakistan and we will abandon India. Or it's
Okay.
not that we will make a relationship with India and we will abandon China. The simple thing, Bangladesh is a progressive country, and the people of Bangladesh, they are always very welcoming. They want to maintain, as I mentioned, the foreign policy of President Zia, that we will make a friendly, win-win
Okay.
relationship between our
That is
neighbors
good to hear. Uzma,
and
I
others.
can see you agreeing there, but we just have 1 minute left. So, I mean, sorry, Sri Radna, I can see you agreeing there. But let me get back to Uzma quickly, because a final note, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister is planning a trip to Dhaka in February. What are you hoping to see out of that meeting?
The Deputy Prime Minister, Sheikh Kardar, is definitely visiting Dhaka in February, and we hope for a joint economic commission to be re-established for. But in the last 15 years, it was a very repressive regime, and now the people of Bangladesh have spoken, and I think all the people, all the countries in the region must respect, the will of the people. And it is also important, and this, I think it was expressed by Dr. Yunus also, who's the chief advisor of the interim government, that we must revive the SARC again. It was a regional platform where all the countries of South Asia sat together and spoke about regional cooperation, trade, commerce, and it is vital for the peace in this region. So I think now India should not have any kind of belligerent or, any sort of hegemonic ideas about being the.
Uzma, we're going to have to end it there, and unfortunately we keep losing your connection, but that's going to have to be the final word. I'd like to thank really all three of you so much for being with us on this edition of the Newsmakers, and our viewers, of course, for joining us as well. Remember, you can follow us on social media and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We'll see you next time.